Good evening. Welcome to the first public involvement meeting for the reconstruction project of West Walnut Street from North 20th to North 12th Street. My name is Megan O'Connor and I work for the City of Milwaukee Department of Public Works, serving as the liaison for residents and businesses along this corridor. Before I introduce the panelists, I would like to go over how you can participate in tonight's meeting. If you're on a computer or tablet, you'll see an orange arrow in the right-hand corner. This is your control panel. As of right now, your microphones are muted. During the presentation, you can type and submit your questions or comments in the question box on the panel, and we'll address the written comments at the end of the presentation. At that time, if you wish to speak, there is a raise your hand button to press. I will be notified that you have your hand raised and I will call on you to speak and unmute your microphone. Lastly, this meeting will be recorded and posted on milwaukee.gov/DPW/Walnut. Our panelists from the City of Milwaukee include Stephen Owen, Department of Public Works Project Manager, Mike Anston, the manager of our Multimodal Transportation Unit, Scott Reinbacher, our traffic engineer, and our project consultants from Grafe, Steve and Andre. Steve, you can take over.
Perfect, thanks Megan. So tonight, let's go over the meeting agenda. We'll talk a little bit about the project location and need. We'll touch base on some existing roadway data in the typical section. We'll identify the proposed improvements the city wishes to incorporate into this project and go over some of the alternatives we've developed. I'll touch base briefly on the project schedule and then we'll open it up for questions and comments. We'll wrap it up with a slide that shows contact information that you can reach out to once the presentation is over if you have any additional questions or concerns. With that, we'll jump right in with the location and need. The project location is, of course, along West Walnut Street. The project runs from North 20th to east of North 12th Street. There are multiple needs for this project. As you can see in the couple of photos here on the slide, the pavement's in pretty tough shape, so there are some roadway deficiencies. There's longitudinal and transverse pavement cracking that's prevalent throughout the project limits. All the curb ramps in the project limits are substandard as well. So each of these will be upgraded to meet ADA compliance standards. And one of the most important things about this project is incorporating some safety improvements. The crash rate in the corridor is greater than the statewide average for similar types of roadways. The project location map here shows the limits. So the project reconstruction is going to start on the east side of the 20th Street intersection and run east to the bridge over I-43. Primarily on the side roads, no improvements are being done. The roadway will be reconstructed to around the radius returns of those intersections. 12th Street, however, will be reconstructed, a portion of that. On the south side of Walnut, it will extend down to the bridge that goes over West Fond du Lac Avenue. On the north side of Walnut along 12th Street, the project improvements will extend about 200 to 300 feet north to encompass the turn lanes that are at that signalized intersection. I'd like to briefly go over some roadway data that's out there. The project length is about 0.6 miles, and the existing roadway is a 4-lane divide roadway with parking and bikes on both sides of the street. The roadway is classified as a minor arterial, which means it carries a decent amount of traffic. It has a posted speed limit of 30 miles an hour, and the traffic volumes vary. West of Fond du Lac, the traffic volumes are 12,600 vehicles per day. That increases to 16,300 vehicles today east of Fond du Lac Avenue. As I mentioned, safety is a big concern of the city. The crash rate out there is greater than the statewide average, and there have been some crashes that have involved pedestrians over the past 5 years. Graphically, this is what the existing typical section looks like. As you can see, we have two 11-foot lanes of through traffic in each direction. with a 5-foot striped bike lane and 7-foot parking lanes on both sides of the street. The two directions are separated by a 26-foot wide median, and we have 8 to 10-foot grass terraces between the outside of the road to the existing sidewalk. Some of the proposed improvements for this project will include the complete reconstruction of the roadway. The city currently proposes to reconstruct Walnut as a 2-lane divided roadway west of Fond du Lac Avenue and maintain the 4-lane divided section east of Fond du Lac Avenue. This is directly related to the traffic volumes that are experienced out there today and are forecasted to be in the future. As I mentioned, we'll replace some pedestrian curb ramps and also perform spot sidewalk improvements. Any sidewalk that is damaged or vaulted will be improved as part of this project. As we get into a couple of the later slides, we are proposing to close some mid-block median closures. Those are primarily at the alleys. This too will increase safety out there by reducing the number of access points within the project corridor. Other improvements include new signing, pavement marking, and street lighting. Traffic signals will be replaced at 3 intersections as well, as shown here on that slide. As far as storm sewer, the trunk line itself, or the storm sewer main line, is proposed to remain in place. However, we will be replacing the storm sewer inlets and lateral pipes within the project corridor. Another important feature of this project that the city wishes to include is the incorporation of stormwater management features, as well as traffic calming measures in the project limits. So for that 2-lane section on the west side of the project, we've developed 2 alternatives that are under consideration. The first is a 2-lane alternative with off-street bikes that's shown on the top portion of this slide. It includes one 11-foot lane in each direction, as well as a parking lane on both sides of the street. As you will see in our overviews on my next slide, their parking will be somewhat reduced in the project corridor, and we're definitely looking for feedback in that regard as part of this presentation tonight. The bike paths would be provided on both sides of the street, taking them off the roadway itself, centered between the new curb line and the existing sidewalk as shown. Alternate 2 is the 2-lane option with keeping bikes on the street. This provides an 11-foot lane in each direction, the 5-foot bike on road, as well as parking. So just the overview of alternate 1 with the off-road bikes, you can kind of depict it here, and I'll zoom in a second. But as I mentioned, we have traffic signals at 20th, 17th, Fond du Lac, and 12th. As part of this project, the signals at 12th, 17th, and 20th will be replaced. As many of you are aware that are living or drive this corridor, there has been work at the Fond du Lac intersection to replace that signal this year. That signal will remain in place as part of this project. It wouldn't be touched. Further, the intersection itself, the pavement within the intersection, is outside the scope of this project along Fond du Lac Avenue. If I zoom in here on the west end a little, you'll see that we'll take down the existing 4-lane section and it'll taper down to a 2-lane section between 20th and 19th Street. That 2-lane section will remain as we progress east. Beyond 15th Street, where we'll start to widen back out to the 4-lane section once you hit 14th Street, and that 4-lane section will continue on to the bridge over I-43. The primary reason for this is to provide for acceptable levels of service through the intersection of Fond du Lac Avenue. In addition to the nearly 16,000 or over 16,000 vehicles that are traversing Walnut Street, Fond du Lac Avenue has over 20,000 vehicles per day, and the 4 lanes are needed at this particular location to make sure that that intersection operates acceptably. I've zoomed in here. It's one of our plan sheets that kind of shows the bike lane in a little more clarity. The off-road bike is highlighted in gray. In this situation, as the bike lane approaches the intersections, we'll push them out to be adjacent to the existing sidewalk, so the pedestrians and the bikers are crossing at nearly the same location adjacent to each other. One thing you'll also notice that I'll touch on a little later in the presentation as well is the city wishes to incorporate bump outs into the project, as you can see here. For instance, you have the one lane of traffic, we have parking here, and then we bump out at the intersections. The benefits of this are twofold. One, it reduces the amount of time that pedestrians are exposed to live traffic by shortening the crossing distance. And two, it eliminates the potential of vehicular traffic using the parking lane to pass on the right through the intersection. For alternate 2, which is the on-street bikes, similar to alternate 1, we'd be reducing from the 4-lane section west of 20th Street down to the 2 lanes by the time we get to 19th Street. That too is carried through just beyond 15th Street, and we're widened back out to the 4-lane section east of 14th Street. As I mentioned, improvements on 12th Street will run both north and south of Walnut, and most of the other side streets, the improvements are going to end just beyond the radius return. Here too is just a zoomed in area of alternate 2. What we see here is the one through lane, here. We have a bike lane that's sandwiched between the through lane and the parking lane on both sides of the road. Bump outs would be provided in this option as well. One other thing of note is we will be coordinating with Milwaukee County Transit. There are several bus stops throughout the project limits. Once a preferred alternative is selected, we'll work with MCTS to determine what, if any, improvements they would like to see out in the corridor, and if there will be any changes to bus stop locations. An additional scope item for this project is the incorporation of stormwater management treatments to clean some of the stormwater of suspended solids before it gets to the actual storm sewer system and ultimately out to the lake. You'll see here in a couple of pictures on this slide are some of the features that could be incorporated, and those techniques include bioswales shown in those pictures, as well as enhanced catch basins. The green areas shown on this slide indicate potential locations. Generally, the bioswales will be located within the center median or in the bumped out areas where we have a widened terrace area because of the narrowing of the roadway itself. Some of the traffic calming measures that will be incorporated or looked at as part of this project is the installation of raised crosswalks on the side street crossings that are stop controlled. As depicted in the picture here on the left, the raised crosswalks are brought up to the curb height level, so it's flush with the curb height as you go through the intersection. What this ultimately does is create a speed hump, which will dictate that vehicular traffic will slow down as they're kind of going in and out of this intersection, thereby increasing pedestrian safety as they cross these side roads. Additionally, bump outs, as I mentioned before, will be installed. It reduces the pedestrian crossings and prevents the passing on the road. The overall project schedule, we are about halfway through our preliminary design as we develop these conceptual alternatives. We're here at the first presentation tonight. The preliminary design is going to extend through late spring or early summer of 2021. At that time, based on feedback that we get from the public and others, and working with the various groups within the City of Milwaukee and the Department of Community Development, we will develop a preferred alternate by the summer of 2021. At that time, we will hold a second public involvement meeting to present that information and begin our final design. Final design will extend through the fall of 2022. And the project will be awarded and let in the winter of 22, followed up by construction in 2023. At this time, construction would be anticipated to start likely in early spring, most likely April, and run through most of the year, likely wrapping up in October or early November. With that, I guess I'd like to open up for any questions, comments, and just open discussion. You'll see here on this slide that we've listed a couple of questions that we'd really like to get some feedback on. So if you want to take a look, read through theirs and identify if you have any opinion on those or any other potential questions or comments you may have. We'd like to hear your input. With that, Megan, I guess I can turn it over to you and can go through the chat box or
Yeah,
let people
thank you.
unmute their mic.
I see that Tom McHugh has his hand raised, so I am going to unmute your microphone, Tom.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I'm the owner of Zippy's Car Wash, right at where the bridge is on 12th. I'm not sorry, on Walnut. Is your intention to diminish traffic on Walnut?
The answer would be not necessarily diminish it, but to slow it down. One of the many features of tightening up the roadway, reducing it to 2 lanes, will be inherently it will slow down traffic. The capacity of the 2-lane road will be sufficient to handle the existing as well as anticipated traffic volumes on Walnut itself.
Obviously, I have a lot of concerns because, I mean, currently we have like a right lane deceleration in front of our car wash. We have probably 350 cars a day in our car wash. And they also turn left at, predominantly out of the car wash into now you're going to do a single lane traffic. It's going to snarl our entrance significantly, I think. But I mean, I don't know what I can do.
Well, one thing of note is I'm sorry. The roadway itself, the Walnut Street is going to get widened back out to 4 lanes before we get to 12th Street. So the proposed roadway near your car wash is generally going to match the existing footprint that it does.
Okay. Okay.
It'll be west of 14th Street, between 14th and 15th, where it really narrows down to 2 lanes.
Oh, it looked like on that diagram, it looked like 1 lane, and I don't know, but you can see where I'm coming from. I mean, you don't maybe know how busy we are, but we have 2 car washes, one on 12th and one on Walnut. So they both feed into that intersection, and it's a very dangerous intersection. I can tell you that. I mean,
yeah. If you want to take a closer look, the exhibits that I kind of zoomed into and spread out will be available on the City of Milwaukee website for the project.
Okay.
There are PDFs that you can open up and zoom in to take a closer look if you'd like.
I can also send you an email, Tom, with those exhibits attached.
I just want you to know the kind of volume that we're doing. I mean, I don't know that makes a difference to you, but we're one of the busier car washes in Metro Milwaukee. I mean, and if you were considering diminishing somehow the ability for someone to get out of our car wash or get in, I won't dissuade the customers. It'll just make it difficult on the traffic. I mean, they're going to come. At
this point, we are not proposing any changes to access. So driveways that are out there today are anticipated to remain.
Okay, sounds good. It needs to be redone anyway at some point. So
thank you.
That's really what I had to say. I don't really have. I'm just concerned. I mean, I'm happy that it's going to get done and you're going to redo the lights and all that, because we've had probably half a dozen accidents in the last 8 or 10 months where police come and look at our cameras and get really they're very serious accidents actually.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comment.
Yes, thank you. I see several other hands raised. Kenneth Ridgway, I'm going to unmute your microphone. Hi, Ken.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, hi. You know what? I'm ecstatic to be a part of this meeting because I'm one who lived in this community since '93. I just want to offer a comment. I am so excited that you guys are realize, have came to whatever decision to make it a lot safer under this new construction development to narrow things down, to slow up traffic. I am so excited about this. I've had kids that went to that school, what's the name of the school, Seaford, as well as uh, there's a school down the street, Am Creative Arts. And you know what? I even driving or walking, I refuse to walk in that area since I've been here. I've only walked one time, and I was taking a chance. I mean, taking a chance on my life, alone, well, with my kids. But yet, just driving, it was to drive was very difficult. So I just wanted to offer a comment. I have to pinch myself. I'm so nervous about the whole ordeal, but at the same time, I'm excited. So just offering a comment. That's all. Over and out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Adams, I am going to unmute your microphone. Hi, Stephen.
Hi. Yeah, overall, I really like the plan. And I think it's very well done. I have a public works background. I used to work for the city long time ago. So it is always good to see when, new designs of existing streets, especially streets that were not exactly built for, as the previous gentleman said, built for pedestrian safety, are reflected, and in this design they very much are. I would go with probably the one on the bikeways to have them off the road, because I think with that narrowing, that looks like that's accidents waiting to happen, and it ain't gonna be good for the bikers. So.
Mhm.
So I think keeping them off the road or toward the pedestrian really makes a lot of sense. I like the bioswales, enhanced stormwater management aspect. I think that's really on time. And I just think it'll really do a lot for that particular stretch. As some of you may know, we have a very active neighborhood association, the Johnson Park Neighborhood Association on north side of the street, and then I think there's another group on the south side, and so I think you have very active neighborhood associations in that area, and
Yeah.
I think this will definitely reflect our efforts in trying to enhance the area. So overall, I like everything. I'm assuming as time goes along, you'll get a lot of particulars. I guess one of the big things, and I don't know if they on the call, would obviously be Speed Queen. I see the other gentleman already commented from the car wash, and I would imagine Speed Queen, just looking at all the traffic that they bring in, probably will have some say so on it. So, I think there's some other little smaller businesses along the way, but I don't think restricting the parking is going to hurt them. But it's good to find out ahead of time.
Right.
But yeah, so overall, I'm very happy with it. I'm glad the city's focusing on it. I think it's very well designed, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Robert, I see that your hand is raised. I'm going to unmute your microphone. Oh, looks like you are self-muted now. If you want to.
Okay.
Okay,
All
you're good.
clear. Thank you, Ms. O'Connor. I'm Robert Wotipka. I serve at Capuchin Community Services. We operate the House of Peace. I want this current I'm kind of living in the future. I want the present time to be over, but I really want it to be over when I see what 2023 could bring. I find I have proof almost every week of how dangerous an intersection 17th and Walnut is. There are
Mhm.
parts in the median pretty much nonstop. And as my brother down the street said, police responding on a regular basis to crashes at the intersection. So I'm very grateful for the narrowing of the lanes west of Fond du Lac Avenue and the traffic calming measures. I think they're desperately needed. The people who come to the House of Peace do park off street. We surge, and particularly on Tuesday nights when the Marquette Legal Clinic is operating. It's very hard to get a parking spot in a comfortable walking distance of the hop. So I'm hoping for maintaining the status quo of parking at 17th and Walnut. With regard to the bike lane, I cannot actually picture the off-street rerouting of the bicycle lanes. Is there a street in the city that already has that set up that I could sort of use, or is this in any way a pilot project? And I'll go back to muting and say thanks, everyone. Very much looking forward to this.
I'll let Mike answer that question about the bike lanes. Thank you, Robert.
Good evening, Robert. Thank you for the comments. So there is nothing in the city to date that looks exactly like we're proposing. There's something similar on Bay Street in Bayview, but not exactly as we're proposing here. I think we can perhaps, there are other examples around the country that we can share some images perhaps on the website, the project website. I think one of the initial slides that Steve shared had a pretty zoomed in rendering of what it could look like, but we can definitely provide better examples, photos from other cities of what this would look like. We're also proposing similar designs on other streets in the city. You'll very likely see something out on the street prior to 2023, so it won't be the first installation of something like this.
Thanks, Mike. Brenda, I am going to unmute your microphone. And now it looks like you're self-muted if you want to try to unmute your microphone.
Can you
There you
hear
go.
me now?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. I am the chairperson for the Johnson Park Neighborhood Association. I'm just wondering if there will be an opportunity for us to put some type of signage that will be attached to the stoplights that can kind of help us keep the boulevard cleaner. Years ago, we used to have signs that said, keep Greater Milwaukee clean, or please don't litter, things of that nature. Because I would say 5 times out of the week, I walk and pick up at least a 5-gallon pail of trash that's thrown out of people's cars onto the street in my neighborhood. So I'm thinking, since we're going to be doing this new project, it might be a good time to try to add some additional signage to stop people from throwing litter out of their car onto the streets.
Yeah, so are you referring to like street light banners that are attached to the light poles?
It doesn't even have, whatever is the most economic way to do it. It doesn't have to even be a banner, even if it was a sign, because people have to look at the traffic light anyway, or they're stopped at the traffic light. If we could put some type of signage, you know how you have those little metal signs?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or if we're going to be having the mile per hour signs to let people know what the speed limit is, that could be another way that we've got to change the behavior of the drivers from throwing litter out of the car. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I think if there was some type of signage, people do read signs.
Yeah. Scott Reinbacher, our traffic engineer, is here if he wants to go over any regulations or spec regarding those signs? And we can always follow up with you on that as well as we
Okay.
get closer to the design, final.
Okay.
Sure. So this is Scott Reinbacher here. I'm a traffic engineer with the Department of Public Works. So obviously this is a very, it's a popular request that we receive citywide. And of course it certainly comes with good intents. We definitely want to change the behavior citywide, try to minimize the amounts of littering out there. I guess from our standpoint in DPW, from an engineering standpoint, we really only try to sign, the regulatory warning, guidance, traffic related signs citywide. I think we definitely support, signage out there. Like you said, I've seen the please don't litter signs, kind of like all the, the political campaign signs that are just mounted at a lower level in the terrace area or perhaps even in property owners' front yards. But I think really from a traffic standpoint, we want to try to minimize the amount of signage that's on our traffic poles out there. Just because of the very fact that, to be honest, there would be thousands and thousands of no littering signs citywide. And it just really becomes hard for us to try to maintain that type of signage. So it definitely is, I understand the intent of it, but I guess at this time right now, from an engineering standpoint, I don't know that would be something that we would be able to put in there with this project. But we would support the neighborhood association and the business improvement districts and things like that if they want to, install signs, elsewhere in the project here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy, I am going to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for your patience. Your hand has been raised for a while.
No problem. I'm a Sherman Park resident, and my wife and I do a lot of walking, and I would love to ride a bike on Milwaukee streets, but I'm scared to death. Frankly, I will walk my bike to a park, and I am scared to go across the street with my bike now. I recall someone coming down Sherman Boulevard and slowing down and asked me if I had bumpers. It's just particularly rude. So I want to say I love the off-street bike path and also the walking paths in the bump outs. This is a great plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Darius Wright, I'm gonna unmute your microphone. Oh, you are self-muted. If you can turn on your microphone. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'm excited about the project. I live nearby on Barbie Street. I'm pretty much 21st and Walnut. I recently purchased a new bike and started biking downtown to work. And I spent a lot of time. First I tried Walnut, and like Randy said, I was just too treacherous. So I started using the Leap as a better route. But because of that, I am excited about potentially having that first alternative where you have the bike lanes off to the side, separated from traffic.
Mhm.
I'd like to look at it closer, but that's kind of what I was hoping for. I also like the ideal of narrowing the roadway, and that'll kind of slow down traffic, of course, because speeds are an issue, and I don't think the number of lanes that are there now are all that necessary. I drive it pretty much every day if I don't bike to work. Big fan of Zippies. I heard the Zippy owner speak earlier. I got 3 cars. I use that all the time, and he's absolutely right. It's kind of hard to get into his establishment. It's pretty tight, but like you said, I think I don't think things are changing too much on that side.
Mhm.
What else? Oh, I wanted to mention right at 20th Street in Walnut. There seems to be a lot of crashes there. I drove to work this morning, and I saw the debris of a wreck that apparently happened last night, right in front of Miss Brenda Brown's house. I could see the absorbing material that the fire department must have put down. So it looked like it was a pretty significant wreck, but I'm not exactly sure why, but there just seemed to be a lot of crashes there. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that, but and I think that's about it. I'm an engineer also. I work on different projects, and I worked a lot with Grafe and these guys. I know they're going to do a great job. So super excited about the corridor improving.
Well, thank you.
Yep. And I've got to run, so I look forward to getting the opportunity to look at these closer.
Okay, I will
Thanks.
share that you guys all get the exhibits in an email so you can get a closer look.
Okay, appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Jose, I see that your hand is raised, so I'm going to unmute your microphone. And you are self-muted, so yep, okay.
All right. Thank you guys for taking this time to do this presentation. I just wanted to say I'm a resident in the city here, and I get around a lot by biking. Obviously not too much on Walnut right now because I think, as other people have made quite clear, it is perilous at times. So I'm a big proponent of Alternative One. I think that there's a lot of places around the city that could use with road diets, and I'm a big fan of protected bike lanes and off the street bike lanes versus painted bike lanes. So yeah, a strong supporter there. I do have one quick question. Just looking at the map of the project, it looks like the boundary ends right before the bridge that goes over Interstate 43 there. I believe on the other side of that bridge, there is painted bike lanes. Would there be anything done to the bridge itself? I don't remember. I don't think that there's, painted bike lanes on that bridge. So would there be anything done on the bridge to connect the proposed off-street lanes and the painted bike lanes on the other side? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Jose, at this point, there is no plans to do any improvements on the bridge or east of the bridge. The project limits will tie into the existing bridge on the west side.
I would say, just to add to that comment, as part of this project, you're absolutely right, Steve. There's no plans to do any major work at the bridge. We'll want to take a look kind of separately just to make sure that the striping matches up and that we are providing continuity in the bike accommodation as it continues east. So we'll take a look at that over the bridge just to make sure there's no gap there. Separate from this project, though.
Great. Thank you. Joyce, I'm going to unmute your microphone. Can you try to turn on your microphone?
Does that do it? Oh, yes.
Yes.
My husband, Joe, and I have lived in the neighborhood for 53 years. So we saw the widening of 17th Street and the widening of Walnut during the Model Cities era. And and the increased traffic and the real many more crashes and many more concerns. We are part of Ezekiel Neighbors. I think Steve Adams mentioned that we are to the south side of Walnut Street. And for more than a year on our monthly Ezekiel Neighbors meetings, we've talked about the speeding. We've worked with the police. We've been very, very concerned about those issues, especially with the school. And then there are a lot of people, older people and people on walkers and handicapped folks who catch that bus when they've been to the House of Peace. So that 17th and Walnut, just being aware of that. There is a mini park, Johnny May Phillips Park, that we helped to have constructed, and so it's especially geared to toddlers and younger children. So we're really concerned about parents and younger children who are using that intersection to access the park as well. We really like the sidewalk bike lanes. I've noticed a lot of older people riding on Walnut. We're just so concerned about them always because of the dangers there. So we would really feel very good in supporting that. I have one question. The condition of the roadway is already pretty bad. We have 3 years to wait until this repaving happens. Is anything going to be done in the meantime to address some of the more severe potholes and street issues before 2023?
I can take that one. The pothole stuff is just going to go through its normal repair cycle as it always has. We're not going to put in any extra money to make the roadway up to par before we go ahead and destroy it, pull it all apart. Sadly, you'll have to put up with the roadway conditions as are. The more you can be online and let DPW know about when there are potholes and that kind of stuff, the quicker they can get out there and fix them as much as we can. Again, I know it's kind of a bummer. I've just had the same thing happen with me in a couple of different roadway projects myself that are in my own neighborhood that I was like, can't we get that done faster? And it's just, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is.
Yeah, and this is Scott with traffic engineering. Just to jump in and help assist this question here too is the potholes, we can do the nice easy general maintenance repairs, or city street maintenance crews will send them out there with just some cold patch asphalt and just kind of do some patching and real kind of basic maintenance repairs. If you are seeing potholes out there, please let us know though. We have the city of Milwaukee, we have a click for action link on the city's website. The potholes we certainly want to address, but I guess like Steve said, is there won't be any real significant maintenance jobs where we would do large patches of large segments of roads. But the potholes, we do want to know about those because we do try to fix those within 3 days of them being reported.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. I do have to say that is a beautiful park at 17th and Walnut. Gone and visited over there. So Abraham, I see that your hand is raised. I am going to unmute your microphone. Hopefully. Looks like you're self-muted. If you can try to turn on your microphone. There we go. Abraham? So I'm going to mute your microphone and go to another person, and I can always come back. Martha Love, I'm going to unmute your microphone. Could you try to unmute your microphone, Martha? Seems to be having some issues. In the meantime, Jake Newborn submitted a question. Will the right turn cut through at Fond du Lac remain?
The answer right now is yes. When we were talking about the heading westbound at Fond du Lac, I'm assuming it is. We are not proposing to close that down and tighten it up. There is. Quite honestly, I'm not sure if that all the work was done yet this year, but they were replacing that signal and some of the islands out there. They were reconfiguring this year. All those improvements that are being done this year won't get significantly reconfigured as part of this project. So the intersection, as it stands, once they're done with the work that they're doing out there this year, will pretty much remain intact.
Okay, and he followed up asking if the school has been made aware of the project. NPS does receive notifications, but we can follow up specifically with the administration at CFERT to get their feedback and comments regarding this. Jake Newborn also asked if the posted speed limit has been considered being reduced to 25.
I guess, Scott, if you want to address that, I don't believe it has or isn't being considered, but I guess I'd defer to you.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of yet, but it's certainly something we could take a look at with this project, just given the other natures of this project to try and, narrow the roadway where perhaps a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit would be more appropriate. But I have not heard of any current discussions on that yet.
David Logan just submitted a comment, giant thumbs up, so thank you. Let's go back to Abraham and see if his microphone is working. Hi. Oh. Not sure. His microphone turned on and turned back off, so I'll wait on that one. And let's try Martha again. Seem to be having some issues with that. That's all our submitted questions or comments right now that we've gone through, and I don't have others with their hands raised.
I guess, Megan, if Martha and or Abraham want to type in a question, if their mics, aren't working, that may work as well.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the technical issue is, so I apologize, Abraham and Martha, that we have not been able to hear you.
There also is a comment form that's available on the website, I guess, for anyone that's here that wants to provide written comments. We welcome those as well.
And on our DPW project website, you can submit comments directly online and we'll be in receipt of it to review. So that's a great way if, later tonight you're thinking about this project and something pops in your mind, you can always head to our website and send it through our online comment form. Jake Newborn wants to know which intersections are being considered for raised crosswalks.
The raised crosswalks would occur at all non-signalized cross streets. So the raised crosswalks themselves are not proposed on Walnut itself, but they would be across 14 on the south side of the road, 14th Street, 15th, 16th, 17th is signalized, so that would not be raised, and then 18th and 19th would, and 20th would not. So anything that's stop controlled, we're considering the raised crosswalks.
Thank you. Just to discuss other questions or issues that may that we should be aware of. If you guys want to mention if you think parking reduction is okay, if you're not in support of it. I know 17th was mentioned as maintain as much parking as possible. Just something we would like to know. Stephen, I see that your hand is raised, so let's try to turn on your microphone.
Okay.
All right.
I just wanted to mention, you probably already know this, but just in case you don't, that there are some significant plans for housing in Walnut Circle Crossing, right at 20th and Walnut. So I think there's going to be some construction. If Brenda Brown is on, she could probably tell you a little bit more about that. I think starting next spring and all that. So I don't know if that will have any impact on the planning or on actual construction, but there is some planned activity over in that area.
That is so helpful to know. Thank you, Stephen. Which reminds me, leading up to construction, if more developments happen, just keeping us informed would be great. But then also during construction, if there's any neighborhood events, community or events that we need to be aware of so we can coordinate during construction and having access, that's just something I would love to work with you guys with, and making sure that the contractor is doing the best that they can to make sure that things are still operating as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, another thing, real quickly, since I got the mic, that you might want to be aware that there's this business called Winks Auto.
Yes.
It's on between, yeah. They got a new owner, so we've been dealing with them from the Johnson Park Neighborhood Association aspect. So you might want to make sure you talk to them to see how their plans are going to reflect with what you guys are planning as well.
Great, thank you. And I may just follow up with you and make sure that the contact I have at Winks is who you've been in communication with, if you don't mind that. Yeah,
actually, Brenda Brown, our association president, probably keeps it more in contact with them than I do. So got that. She's the champion for the day.
I will reach out to Brenda. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, sure.
And I just want to let people know that our presentation is done, so you can leave if you would like. We could always do another presentation if we see more people signing in later, but we've gone through our PowerPoint, so really we're just here to take questions, hear from you on your concerns or issues and comments.
And Megan, I guess just to reiterate that on the project website, there is the PowerPoint presentation will be posted there. Those large overview exhibits that I tried to zoom in during the presentation, there's PDFs of those so that you can open those and zoom in closer if you want to look at a particular location within the project corridor. And the schedule is listed there as well. And then just some contact information. I believe all this is on the website as well. But Steve Owen at the city, Alderman Stamper is the representative in this area, and of course myself, Ed Gray. If you have other questions or feedback you'd like to share, please reach out to us. We appreciate your time, and thanks for your input.
Yes. Brenda, I see that your hand is raised. If you can try to unmute your microphone, maybe it's, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you can reach out to me to find out about the new owner of Winks Auto.
Okay, great, thank you. All
right, thank you, this was great.
Appreciate that. Okay, Abraham, I do see that your microphone is on. And I saw that you entered a note saying you could hear us, but unfortunately we haven't been able to hear you. Martha, can you hear us? Oh, she's in listening only mode. Okay, I just wanted to double check since your hand was raised, if you had any questions. Great. Okay, I haven't seen anyone sign in recently. Just to let everyone know who is still on the line, we would like to receive comments by November, the end of November. So if you guys can submit comments within the next month, it would be great to hear from you all by then.
Megan, I know we had identified that we might go through the presentation twice if more people signed in. You had mentioned that it doesn't appear that people have signed in after the initial sign up, I guess. So
Yeah, our attendees list numbers are going down. I haven't seen anyone sign in. I haven't seen a new name sign in yet.
okay.
A recording of this meeting will also be on our website, so you can share this meeting with others. If you know someone who wasn't able to attend, we'll have this recorded and posted. So we just got a comment from Jeff. He apologizes if this was covered earlier, but will the length of the crosswalks at Walnut and 17th be reduced? Those are, quote, far to walk across currently, especially when transferring from one bus route to the other and needing to cross 2 crosswalks at a time. Thanks, great job, everyone. Oh, it's quite far, sorry, I didn't see your correction there. So 17th and Walnut's quite far to cross the street.
At 17th and Walnut, 17th Street, and I can probably go back in the presentation to show what that kind of looks like here. Let me zoom in. This is alternative 1 with the off-street bikes. So, and I apologize for not being able to get in even closer than this, but we will be narrowing slightly 17th Street across Walnut. However, right at the moment, we are not proposing bumping in or bumping out 17th Street itself. Now, that's something that we can definitely talk with the city to see if that's something that could or would get added to the project scope. But it will narrow a bit on going across Walnut itself. But at the moment, 17th Street width would remain the same.
And part of the reason for not doing the bump outs at 17th Street is for truck turning radiuses, large trucks, especially like fire trucks, need to make that turn without jumping a curb, and they usually like to take the major streets to get there. It's not as much of an issue on the side streets usually, but on the larger streets like this, we need to be able to get a larger truck through there.
Correct, and that's on the exhibit here. You can see that taper through here. That's in order for a larger vehicle that's coming down 17th Street to make that turn and avoid hopping the new curb line. We can't narrow it as tight, like you're saying, Steve, in these areas where we get rid of. We have bump outs at the non-signalized cross streets.
Thank you for clarifying that. So he also added, thank you. Those medians in the middle are very helpful as a pedestrian refuge. Will those be ADA accessible? Also, will there be audio equipped crossing signals for visually impaired pedestrians, transit riders at 17th and Walnut?
The median cut-throughs will be ADA compliant, so they will be accessible. As far as the audio signal, I guess, Scott, if you could speak to that. The city of Milwaukee is actually going to be performing this traffic signal design on this project, and I'm not exactly sure what specific features are going to be incorporated into the signal equipment.
Sure. So us at the city, we do have a number of accessible pedestrian signals that have been deployed citywide. Generally, we install these types of devices based on requests from the public. So if you are interested in submitting a formal request, we could certainly add this in and try to get this equipment installed with the project. So I can provide my email address in the chat box, hopefully if people can see. Megan, could you, for some reason, I can't chat or see chats from the public. Could you
Oh,
provide
okay.
my email address perhaps, and then I could get in touch with this constituent here. But yeah, I think that is something that the project could accommodate, would be a request for accessible pedestrian signals.
Jeff has your contact information, Scott. So
Oh, was that Jeff who asked the question? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jeff
Oh,
from Milwaukee County Transit.
awesome.
So he will reach out to you.
And Jeff, I guess we haven't reached out particularly to Milwaukee County Transit yet. We know that there is, quite a few bus stops in there that once we kind of work through the alternates and come up with a preferred alternate, as I mentioned in our presentation today, we will be reaching out to you guys specifically to get any comments or concerns you had. Megan did forward, and I'm not sure if those came directly from you or was from someone else, but we will look into the comments that we received already and look to address those as part of our overall design.
Yeah, that email from MCTS is extremely helpful. So thank you so much for taking the time to provide those comments.
One question I guess I have and maybe Jeff knows the answer, for 14th Street. We do have a driveway to the maintenance facility. We've got driveways off of 16th Street as well. How often are some of those driveways being used directly onto Walnut from the maintenance facility, if you know? I think they're gated, if I recall correctly.
Jeff, if you don't mind, I will try to unmute your microphone if you have an answer for that.
Yes. Hi there, guys.
Hi, Jeff.
Appreciate all the feedback. I don't know if my webcam can be enabled or not, but no big deal. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, not sure about the driveways. I can follow up with our maintenance department. I can't imagine those are used too frequently. But yeah, definitely all the feedback that we gave you on our bus stops, we'd be happy to talk that over, and figure out kind of what the best plan is. I mean, really from our side, it's all about the safety of our riders, and also just the smooth operations of our buses, which in this corridor really isn't a problem because it's so wide. But yeah, any narrowing of it, we would love to be in conversations with you guys.
Definitely.
And thanks to Scott. Also, I'll be emailing you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Funny, we were just emailing an hour ago. Well, 2 hours ago now.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. No, this is a great project, and it's an important corridor in our network. Our Route 57 that operates, between every 20 and every 30 minutes, all day long, every day, all year long. So, we've got a lot of riders who depend on it.
Thank you. So still no one new has signed on. I would say maybe give it to 7:15 to see if we have any new people coming on, or maybe last minute questions or comments popping up. Okay, with the few remaining people who are still with us, we are going to end our presentation and stop recording. A copy of this will be on our website. That's milwaukee.gov/dpw/walnut. And as a reminder, we would love to receive comments via email or on our comment form directly online. Within a month would be great. And we will see you at our next public involvement meeting. So thank you so much for taking the time to learn about this project and provide feedback.
Thanks, Megan, too, for organizing today.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and great presentation, Steve and Megan.
Thank you.
Well,
We look forward to moving on, advancing the project and keep momentum going. It was nice to see such positive feedback from the public about narrowing the street. I was wondering how that was going to go, whether there was going to be people that were vocal the other way as well.
it is great. All right, well, you guys have a good night. I am going to stop recording.